Okay, let's just be honest. I looked at the stack of reading for this deep dive, the research papers, the history, the biology, and I had a moment of genuine panic.
That's a lot. I mean, it is a lot.
It's a mountain of material, and the reality is, most of us, myself included, do not have time to read 500 pages on family systems theory just to figure out, why the last family reunion went completely off the rails.
Right.
So that's the mission today. I want the highlights, the cheat sheet version of this new science of the family.
I think we can do that. And honestly, the cheat sheet is way more interesting than the old school view of family therapy anyway.
Well, yeah, because when I think family therapy, my brain still goes to the cliche, a beige room, a box of tissues, and a therapist just nodding while I blame my mother for everything.
The classic Woody Allen movie version.
Totally. Just endless rounds of, and how does that make you feel?
Well, the sources we're looking at today basically argue that view is completely obsolete. We're not just talking about feelings or, interpersonal drama.
Yeah.
We are talking about hard science. We're talking evolutionary biology, neurochemistry, complex systems.
So we're really upgrading the entire operating system on this.
We are. And if you want the absolute core of all this research, the two words that explain why your family acts the way it does, it's these: autonomy and adaptation.
Okay, let's define those before we jump in.
Sure. So autonomy is the drive for any system to maintain its boundaries. It's the I am me force. It doesn't matter if you're a single cell or a teenager, you want to stay stable and, distinct from the world around you.
Okay, makes sense.
And adaptation.
Adaptation is the survival mechanism. It's how that system changes when stress hits it. The environment changes, you have to change to survive.
So family life is basically just this constant high-stakes wrestling match between trying to stay the same, that's autonomy, and being forced to change, which is adaptation.
That is a perfect way to put it. And today, we're going to trace that wrestling match through 3 layers. We'll start with the heart, your genes, and your brain.
Then the software, how you connect with other people, and finally the environment, the massive social forces that are literally pressing down on your house.
Micro to macro, let's start at the bottom, the hardware.
Let's do it.
Now, when I hear evolutionary biology and human behavior in the same sentence, my mind immediately goes to competition. Survival of the fittest. It's a dog-eat-dog world.
That is the popular take, for
Yeah.
sure. But the research in our stack, especially from people like Corin Apicella and Joan Silk on hunter-gatherers, it flips that completely on its head.
How so?
They argue that for humans, survival of the fittest actually meant survival of the most cooperative.
Why humans specifically? Why aren't we, I don't know, like leopards who just work alone?
Calories. It all comes down to the energy bill.
The energy bill.
Think about it. A human child versus, say, a baby gazelle. A gazelle is born, and within like 20 minutes, it's walking. In a day, it's running. It's functional.
A human baby, on the other hand, is a potato.
A loud, leaking potato. Exactly. A human child is, to put it in biological terms, calorically expensive. They are completely dependent for years and need a massive amount of food but contribute 0 calories back to the group.
The math just doesn't work for a single parent.
A mother on her own in that environment could not gather enough food to feed herself and this energy-draining offspring. She would starve.
Ah, okay.
So humans had to develop a system of cooperation. Hunters shared meat, gatherers shared plants. If you were some rugged individualist who didn't share, your expensive kid died. Your genes didn't get passed on.
So cooperation isn't just a nice value we teach in kindergarten, it's a genetic adaptation. You're literally wired to share because our kids are so expensive to keep alive.
Precisely. And that genetic wiring brings it to the next really big concept here: epigenetics.
This is a word I hear everywhere, but I feel like I only half understand it. Can you unpack it?
Think of it like this. You have your DNA, right? That's the hardware, the actual script. But sitting on top of that DNA are millions of little chemical switches. That's the epigenome.
Oh.
And these switches tell your body which parts of the script to read and which parts to ignore.
So it's like a director cutting scenes from a movie. The script is the same, but the final cut is different.
That's a great analogy. And here's where it matters for families. The research talks about this intergenerational pathway. So if a parent goes through something severe, trauma, famine, chronic stress, the environment can actually reach in and flip those switches.
It changes the settings.
It changes the instructions. And those new settings, those can be passed down. So you can have a child born with their stress alert system already dialed up to 11, not because of their own experience, but because of what their grandmother survived.
That is wild. It totally complicates the whole nature versus nurture debate. It's not one or the other.
It's the environment hacking the biology. It's all one system.
Wow.
And once that system builds the brain, we get into the emotional operating system. The sources really highlight the work of Jake Panksepp here on effective neuroscience.
He maps out all the basic emotional systems in the mammalian brain, right?
He does. And for our purposes, the real family drama comes down to this tug of war between two of those systems, seeking and panic grief.
Let's break those down. Seeking sounds like, I don't know, looking for your car keys.
It's much deeper than that. Seeking is the engine of curiosity. It's the dopamine system. It's this objectless drive to explore, to go out into the world and find resources. It's the biological drive for autonomy.
So it's what makes a toddler let go of your hand and just bolt toward a shiny thing.
Exactly. But then you have the panic grief system.
Which I'm guessing is the buzzkill.
It's the safety tether. This is the attachment hardware. It's a specific neural circuit that just lights up when a young mammal gets separated from its caregiver. And the crucial thing here is that this isn't just sadness. It's processed as physical pain.
It actually hurts.
It registers as pain. When that separation happens, opioids in the brain actually drop. It feels like withdrawal. It is a biological alarm screaming, you are alone and you are going to die.
So every single one of us is walking around with this fundamental conflict inside. The seeking system says, go explore, be free. And the panic system is screaming, don't lose connection, stay close or you'll die.
And that internal conflict is what we bring into every single relationship.
Yeah.
Which takes us from the hardware to the software.
Okay, the software. So we're talking attachment and triangle.
The patterns of connection, yeah.
Pop culture loves attachment styles. I feel like you can't go on a date anymore without someone telling you, oh, I'm anxious, preoccupied, or watch out, he's a classic avoidant.
It's the new astrology.
It really is. I can't date you, your moon is in Scorpio, and you're an avoidant. But the research here says we need to rethink that whole idea.
We do. We
Yeah.
tend to think of attachment as this fixed personality trait, like your height. But the research shows it's actually a dynamic system you build with another person.
So you can be secure with one person and insecure with another.
Exactly. You could be securely attached to your mother, but insecurely attached to your husband. It's relational. And to really see how this works, and more importantly, how it breaks, the sources point to the famous still face experiment by Ed Tronick.
I watched the video of this. It's honestly, it is stressful to watch.
It's visceral, isn't it?
It is. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, you have a mother and her baby, and they're just playing. They're face-to-face, smiling, cooing, pointing. They're in this perfect rhythm.
They're biologically synced up.
Totally. And then, on a signal, the mother stops. She goes completely stone-faced. No expression at all. Not angry, not sad, just blank.
And if you watch the baby doesn't just sit there. It goes through this universal cycle of adaptation.
First, they try the reach. The baby smiles bigger, waves its arms, makes cute noises.
They're trying to reboot the connection. Hey, Mom, look at me. Come back.
But the mother stays still. So the baby shifts gears into protest. It starts screeching. It gets angry. It physically pushes at the air.
The panic system is firing on all cylinders now.
Yeah.
I am losing you.
And when even that fails,
They turn away. The baby will look at the floor, suck its thumb, it withdraws. And finally, if it goes on too long, it's just meltdown. Pure, uncontrollable despair.
okay, so here's the aha
Hmm.
moment for me in the reading. The experts argue this isn't just about babies. That exact cycle, reach, protest, turn away, meltdown is the script for almost every adult fight in a relationship.
It's the exact same biological loop. In marriage research, they call it the demand-withdraw pattern, but it's the same thing.
Give us the adult version.
Okay. So a husband feels a disconnect from his wife. He tries to reach. Maybe he makes a joke or asks, hey, want to watch a movie? If she's stressed or busy and gives him the stone face, even unintentionally, his panic system pings.
But he's an adult, so he doesn't start screeching.
No, he protests. But adult protest looks like nagging. It looks like criticism. You never listen to me. Why are the dishes still in the sink? You're always on your phone.
He's not really angry about the dishes.
He's protesting the loss of connection. But to his wife, it just feels like an attack. So what does she do? She turns away, she shuts down, she leaves the room to protect herself.
Which, of course, just confirms his biggest fear that he's being abandoned, so he goes into a version of meltdown.
And there's your fight. We think we're fighting about chores, but we're actually fighting about biological survival. We're trying to shut off that panic grief alarm.
That reframes everything. It's not that your partner is a jerk. It's that their brain is screaming, I'm alone.
It changes how you see it. But here's the next logical question. What happens when the couple, the dyad, can't fix it? When the reach and protests just keep failing?
The system has to adapt somehow.
It adapts by expanding, and this is where we get triangulation.
This is a huge concept in this field.
It's core. If you and I have tension we can't resolve, that tension is dangerous. It threatens the stability of our relationship. So to stabilize things, we subconsciously pull in a third person to absorb the anxiety.
The classic example is the parent-child triangle.
Right. Imagine a couple whose marriage is, for all intents and purposes, dead. The stone face is permanent. The tension is unbearable. Then suddenly, their teenage son starts acting out.
Getting bad grades, skipping school.
Exactly. And what happens? The parents stop fighting each other. They unite. They pour all their energy into fixing their son. We have to get him a tutor. We have to talk to the principal.
So the marriage is stabilized.
Yes. The parents' relationship is now stable because they have a project. The anxiety has found a dumping ground, the son. So the son's bad behavior is actually an adaptation that keeps the family unit from shattering. He's carrying the weight of the marriage.
That is heavy. But it's also not just about kids, right? The sources mention a stat about the infidelity triangle that really surprised me.
Oh, this was the research by Lindsay Lebrecht and Mark Wisman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they looked at affairs as a type of triangle, a way to manage pressure in a relationship.
And what did they find?
They found a massive difference depending on who the affair is with. We tend to think any affair is a marriage ender, but the data showed that having an affair with a close friend makes a couple 7 times more likely to divorce.
7 times. Why?
It's about emotional gravity. If you have a fling with a stranger, it's a triangle, but it can be a stabilizing one. You get your emotional needs met somewhere else, so you can tolerate the stone face at home. It keeps the broken system limping along.
But an affair with a close friend?
That pulls too much emotional weight out of the primary relationship. It collapses the whole original structure. It's too big of an adaptation.
Okay, so we've got the hardware, our anxious brains, our genes. We have the software, these clumsy attachment dances, and the triangles we build. But families don't exist in a bubble.
No. And this is the final and maybe the most important zoom out. We have to look at the sociocultural system, the environment.
This is the part of the deep dive that really pushes back on that pull yourself up by your bootstraps idea of family. We like to think if you just work hard and love each other, your family will be fine.
But the research says, not if the environment is actively crushing you. The sources bring in Iris Young's 5 faces of oppression, exploitation, marginalization, and so on. The point is, these aren't just abstract political ideas. They are real physical forces that press on a family.
The most powerful example in the reading for me was the case study on the invention of race.
This is a piece of history everyone should know. We tend to assume race is a biological fact. But the source material takes us back to the 15th century, to Prince Henry the Navigator in Portugal.
Right, he wanted to get into the slave trade.
He did. But to do that in a Christian Europe, he needed a justification, a moral loophole. So his biographer, a guy named Gomes de Zurara, basically invented a category. He took all these diverse African peoples with different languages, cultures, religions, and lumped them into one single black race.
It was a marketing strategy to justify an economic policy.
It was an economic tool. They created a hierarchy to justify slavery. That's it.
And how does this connect to family systems today?
Because while race is not a biological reality, the social reality of it creates very real biological stress. The research points to things like higher heart disease mortality rates in Black Americans. That's not bad genes. That is the somatic cost, the body count of living in a system designed to create friction for you.
The environment is literally getting under the skin and pressing on the epigenome.
Yes, the stress of marginalization enters the parents, affects their health, affects their patients, flips those epigenetic switches, and it impacts that delicate attachment dance with their child. You cannot treat the family without seeing the water they are swimming in.
There's another case study here about the environment that I found really provocative. This argument for a marriage-free state from Claire Chambers.
This is a fascinating philosophical argument. And just to be clear, she's not saying people shouldn't love each other. She's not anti-love.
She's anti-regulation by the state.
Precisely. She argues that the state shouldn't be in the business of regulating relationships at all. Her point's that, historically, the institution of marriage entrenched gender inequality. It set up a system where men's work was paid labor, and women's work raising the next generation of citizens was framed as unpaid labor of love.
So by handing out marriage licenses and tax breaks, The state is endorsing a specific, historically unequal structure.
That's her argument. She says rights like hospital visitation or tax benefits should belong to individuals or be based on who is providing care, not on a specific kind of sexual contract.
It makes you ask if the structure of the family we hold up as the ideal is actually serving everyone.
Or is it just another adaptation to a specific economic moment? And that leads to what was, for me, the biggest aha moment in all of this research. It's the work by Matthew Desmond on housing insecurity.
Desmond's work is incredible. He spent years living in trailer parks and rooming houses, seeing how low-income families actually survive. And he found this pattern that, from the outside, looks like total dysfunction.
He called them disposable ties.
Can you explain that?
He saw people forming these incredibly intense, rapid-fire friendships with strangers. You meet a woman at the laundromat, and 2 days later, you're calling her sister, you're sharing food. Maybe you're even moving in together for a week.
To a middle-class observer, that looks chaotic and unsafe. You'd say, that's poor boundary maintenance. Why are you trusting a stranger?
Exactly. But Desmond flips the lens. He says, look at the environment. If you're facing eviction tomorrow, if you have no food for your kids tonight, you don't have the luxury of building a slow 6-month friendship. You need help now.
You need a rapid adaptation.
You have to accelerate the bond to survive the crisis. So what looks like dysfunction or drama is actually a brilliant high-speed adaptation to a broken and hostile environment. The family is maintaining its autonomy, its life, by radically altering its boundaries.
If they didn't do that, they'd be on the street.
If they acted like a stable, middle-class family with rigid boundaries, they would perish.
That really brings us full circle. We started with this idea that family systems is just about feelings, but we've ended up somewhere so much bigger.
We have. We realized that a family isn't some standalone unit. You are a stack of autonomous systems. You've got your genes trying to survive, your brain seeking connection but fearing abandonment, your attachment system building triangles to manage anxiety, and your entire family unit trying to adapt to a society that might be hostile to it.
It completely destroys the myth of the isolated individual. We're these deeply interconnected webs reacting to biology and society all at once.
And that is the absolute core of modern family systems theory. It teaches us that bad behavior, whether it's a toddler's tantrum, a husband's nagging, or a family's chaotic friendships, is rarely just bad.
It's a solution.
It is an attempt to solve a problem. It's an adaptation. It might be a messy one, it might be a painful one, but it is the system trying to survive.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy question to chew on as we wrap up here.
It really does. If we accept this premise that a family's so-called dysfunction is often just a successful adaptation to a deeply stressful environment, well, are we wasting our time trying to fix the family in a therapy office?
When maybe we should be focusing our energy on fixing the environment that forced them to adapt that way in the first place?
That is the question.
That is a thought that will definitely stick with me for a long time. Thank you for taking the shortcut to being well informed with us today.
It's always a pleasure to connect the dots.